In this video lesson, we're going to learn about applications of quadratic equations. So our target is to be able to solve real-world application problems. And these we call word problems. So real-world applications are basically just word problems. So real-world application problems. And we're going to do that by writing quadratic equations. So we're going to write quadratic equations and then solve them. And solving them will sometimes be by factoring and other times with the quadratic formula. And this is because there are situations all around us that involve solving a quadratic in the real world. So being able to have those problem-solving skills and those critical thinking skills will help you outside of the area of mathematics. Now, the general steps that we use to solve most of these problems include, first and foremost, reading the problem. And this is where everyone can be guilty of thinking they know what the problem is asking without taking the time to thoroughly go through and read the problem, myself included. The second, we're going to define variables, because if we understand what our inputs and our outputs represent, it's going to give us some insight to whether or not we're writing the correct equation and if our answer makes sense. And I find that drawing a picture gives me a visual that can help me decide how to write that equation. So if it's possible, it's not always possible, but if it's possible, I'm going to draw a picture. Then we're going to write the equations or equation for one problem. So we'll write the equation that describes the situation, and then we will always after solving, we will always check our answer to verify it makes sense. And I would say that sometimes it's the first step and the last step that I end up shortcutting. So we're going to try to create a habit where we're not doing that. In this first video, we are going to solve quadratic equations that involve the Pythagorean theorem. So the first couple of equations that we are going to write will involve the Pythagorean theorem. And then the next set of problems will be finding consecutive integers, whether those are positive integers, odd integers, even integers. So the number 2 and number 3 in our notes, we're not going to use a lot of picture drawing because we're just talking about numbers. But then number 4 is when we're going to start getting into vertical motion problems. So number 1 is going to be the quadratic formula. Number 2 and 3 will be just working with numbers. Number 4 will be vertical motion, as well as number 5, number 6, number 7, and number 10, and number 11 and 12. So a lot of the quadratic problems that we're going to be working with will involve vertical motion. So I'm going to break this up into several videos. The next video I will talk about the Pythagorean theorem, and then we'll go from there.